The boy and I suffered from different kinds of insomnia, it would seem. I would often sleep for as little as 3 hours at a time, often startled awake by the thinnest flicker of sunrise piercing through a piece of curtain I neglected to shut. The boy, however, would not sleep for several days, immersed in his computer, my musical instruments, art books, and then go on a sleeping binge of 14 hours or so. Most recently, I found him on the deck at dawn, writing in a journal. He startled as I slinked in, a quality I have a difficult time shutting off, perhaps out of enjoyment, perhaps out of fear that I would lose the ability. His fear, however, was in being found out. He had procured another vape and was afraid I'd break his new toy. I smiled and perched on the wooden railing, not ungrateful for the company.
I'm gonna throw it away tonight.
I gave him a raised eyebrow. Really, it said.
Well, yeah, probably. I don't know.
He inhaled and exhaled a perfect cloud. We watched it float downwards like a spirit. In the light of sunrise, Hollywood and greater Los Angeles looked more verdant than it actually was. The air felt predictive of rain again, faint aroma of lilac and corn tortillas.
I was remembering something and found the right words for it, the right metaphor or whatever. I thought to write it down before I forget.
I turned ever so slightly to give him my attention.
No, it's just like, I remember this feeling when I was young, and I never can shake it. It's like, I guess I've always felt like I'm a side character in someone else's story. Like I would enter my grandpa's study when I was a kid, and they were all having a meeting. Anyway, that's how I feel like I don't know who I am except as some kind of accessory or something, or foil. That's not the right word. Like if I went into one of those blank rooms like in the Matrix, like a soundless room, like if I stayed there enough time with nothing to bounce off of, then maybe I'd discover I'm not real. I'm just some kind of energy that was like shot out by someone real, that I'm not really on my own journey. I'm just some kind of incident or device to someone else's journey, someone that's real.
His conflict was antithetically visible on his face. It seemed relaxed for the first time ever, like he'd been wearing a mask all along. His innocence was there, fractured and scintillating, potential, but also danger.
I think that the only thing that would like make me feel at peace with this feeling is if I were like immortal or something. I think it's gonna take me like a long time to circle back and try to make sense of all that's happened to me. Like, not like who's to blame or what, but if I can like do anything about it. My guess is no, but maybe my only chance is if I have like a little more time than we're like usually afforded. I know what you're gonna say, I'm really young, but people in my family tend to die young. My parents did. It's a fact, but it's also like a feeling. It's not like suicide, but it's like close. We like tend to lean in just at the wrong moments. It's like an unconscious thing, like a generational curse. We're searchers, that's what my grandma calls us. Anyway, thanks. I'm gonna go in.
He left the journal on the deck and made his way in. I thought for a second about opening it, but reconsidered. I looked out at the sun perched upon the hills of Westwood, a breeze and then a few drops of rain, like someone was flicking water at me from above. I kicked the journal back towards the awning so that it wouldn't get wet. Gray stayed in his cat form as Agatha nursed him back to health. I would periodically forget he was not just a cat, as all he did was sleep curled up on a woolen scarf by the window where the sun's rays would give him the most warmth. Agatha would stir him awake every 3 or 4 hours and give him some of her ball of resin and gradually some minced sardines. He was thin, but eventually his gray coat began to resume its lustrous shine. When we got back home, Agatha tended to my wounds in a rush, forced to leave a few bits of iron in my abdomen as they were beyond her expertise. The resin indeed had miraculous properties, as I was not as depleted as I would have thought. I stayed in as Agatha went out to assess the situation. Whatever home or homes she had had were no longer safe. The jailbreak had cost her something of her public-facing persona. Fortunately, the apartment was protected. I would later discover that it had some magical properties, the last stairwell to our landing appearing and disappearing at will, something she had learned to manifest long, long ago, she said, from someone she never cared to speak of. Those were the best of times before Gree resumed his human form. Agatha would sit on the window ledge, him purring on her lap, me confusingly jealous, notating little melodies. I would look at her and see her mind moving a mile a minute, peering over Paris like a general looking over the battlefield, for that was what it would soon be. There was revolution afoot, and as glorious a thing as it could be, it was also a horror. Agatha relished for the opportunities only someone of her age and wisdom could recognize. I must send for Netto, but not now, not before things have settled, she would say to herself out loud. Do you have any vampires you trust? She asked me. Ha, I said. Do I have any that trust me? Later, as she was knitting by Gree, I continued. Perhaps there are 1 or 2. Gree opened his eyes, as if he'd been listening all along.